Hey, hi everyone. Good afternoon. Hello, good afternoon. So let's wait one more minute. Sash. And yeah, welcome to the last ever lecture of React. Uh, you're almost full stack developer. You know almost everything that you need to know as making some product. Everything here after is just your practice. The more you practice, the better you'll get at it. Okay. Uh, what is your daily schedule in Masai? Tech, coding, meetings, and lecture is most important. Class, yes. We learned React, nice, yes. So 1 month is short period, yeah. It goes by immediately. And now you know like how React exactly helps you in is how is better than writing plain simple HTML. You can create professional grade applications with React, right? So uh, instead of using HTML, CSS, and you can reuse the code, you can find out the mistakes and all. So keep practicing here onwards. The lecture we are gonna learn about is the middlewares. Very easy topic. So how was the pre-class? How did you? I kept it very short for the uh, yeah, I kept it short. But the only thing is you need to understand middleware, nothing else. Now I'll explain them in depth here. You just concentrate on the pre-class is supposed to be like that. I kept it only the required part there. Thunk and everything. Thunk is a middleware because you don't need to learn it in pre-class. Yesterday assignment, I am giving directly user status true after getting data from reqres. Flow once of that assignment. I'll try if we have time. Today's schedule is been highest level of busy so far. Like I'm having meetings and barely 1 minute of break since the morning till 7 or 6 at night. I'll see if I have some time at the end of the lecture. If we finish early, we'll go through them. Okay, so it's okay to submit assignments late. If it is taking time, considered late submission. It's not considered late submission. I think you do get that week time. After that, it is considered as late submission. So if you today's assignment, if you submit it before Friday, then it's fine. Do we need previous day code for today? Yes, we are gonna start with the yesterday's code. Web 13 C4 as an assignment? No, Web 13 C4 was very easy. And they remember they had like you're gonna have some a bit tough assignment because C3 was easy. So I'm gonna give a bit tougher assignment for C4. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm not gonna give. No, I'm not gonna give difficult. No, it will be same for you. 3 hours, and the same level. But now this time will be with React. TypeScript? No, it will not be TypeScript. No. With Redux, yeah, it will be with Redux, but same. It will be same. The format and all. You'll get one message soon. I'm just waiting for that message. Just is it dropped yet? Yeah, you'll get it in just few more minutes. Keep an eye on for that message on your channel. Do you learn new tech daily? I do learn new tech daily. Tech is so vast. You have to learn new tech daily. Automatically, it comes automatically. After Redux, it's revision only. There is no official curriculum after Redux. React is still pending technically. As in, like there are more things that you can learn on top of React. The React that you have learned so far is more than sufficient. to get you started as a React developer. Remember, there are things keep on coming. So there will be like the advanced hooks like use memo, use callback. There are advanced state management, local state management, like use use reducer and all those things. So you can keep on learning. There things will be there. We haven't received C3 results yet. C3 results are also ready, I guess. Let me check with the eyes. But if they are not, they'll be ready by today itself or something like that. Redux ने mark Redux किए. No, Redux. Remember, the second and the yesterday's and today's lecture is very easy. Everything that boils down to just configuration, like how you're gonna structure your application and all. The in C4, what you have to concentrate more about is state management in Redux in terms of how the sorting and filtering and all you were doing on the local component, it just moved away from the local components, right? And you will have to do something like dispatch an action for sorting and something like that. That's barely, I can give you some hint. Okay, so example for C4, no, I mean, example is same for everywhere. Like think about it, like all the C1, C2, C3, C4, it has been just like create some basic structure, right? Because the goal is to test your knowledge of in the same topic only, dedicated some topic. So it will be, this time it will be for Redux. Just 1 minute, I'll be back. Cool. No, C3 का result होगा actually. How much time you are going to get for C4? 3 hours. You'll get 3 hours. 1 hour. All right. How test cases judge that button clicked by Redux. We also have your GitHub link. Remember that. There are two for testing Redux and all. We have two types of test cases now. If we want to check if the Redux is executing or not, Redux also gives you subscribe method. We can also check there what type of action is getting invoked and all. There are many ways to test that. So we can subscribe or an answer on the Redux store itself. Many ways to achieve the one thing. Okay, so today we are, what was the message? See, you'll get the message. जब आएगा तब आएगा. What you don't worry about that right now. Now, whenever you will receive, you will receive that. Concentrate on the C4 and the lecture now. So today we are going to learn about the middlewares. And how the middleware, you have already, you know the middlewares already, right? We have learned the middlewares in Express. Now middlewares from the Redux is same as the middlewares from Express. So why did we use middlewares in Express? It was for changing the way that a request is going or changing the way that response is going. You can use middlewares for whatever you want. You want to change something, you want to stop something from going forward, you add security, you want to add some data on top of the request, you want to change the way of data, whatever you want to do. Middlewares are able to do that, right? It's like a system that sits in between your request and response. Guys, concentrate here. Ignore about message. Abhi, why are you worrying about that? It's nothing serious. You don't want to be worried. आ गया? Where? General. Yeah, CT evaluation. Right. Enjoy now. Join the meeting. I'll be there as well. Mandatory to join. And let's see why you actually got less score in C2. And I'll try to explain other things there as well. So make sure to join the meeting. I'll be there. Dhaval will be there. Some other team will also be there. Having IIM session at fine. You should join, but inform this to someone. You should join this one. See, this is important. Okay, so come back, everyone. All 274 of you. Interview for I. This is important. Think about it. You wanna join the interview for I have no objection. You can join that. I'm telling you, this is a bit important. And it's the meeting is not to shout at you or anything. Don't worry. There is not my name, but can I join? Reach out to Prashant or someone from EC or someone. Ask them. I'm not sure. If the name is not there, there may be reason for that. I'm not sure. I did not create that list. It's coming from ops. Okay, so let's start now. Any doubts from pre-class? No doubts? Okay. Everyone understood what's a middleware? What's a thunk? Okay, correct. The meeting is open for others as well, yes. But mandatory. The listed students are mandated to join. We can control the flow using middlewares, correct? What's a thunk but? Anyone remember from pre-class? Okay, I'm gonna open, meanwhile, I'm gonna open yesterday's code base. Screen, desktop to, okay. Is the middleware correct? Asynchronous middleware, exactly. Thunk is a wrapper middleware. It is a middleware itself. You are telling, but this definition, a piece of code that does some delayed work is from, I think, README. It's from the official Thunk site. But that is correct. Yes, Thunk is past tense of think, right? So, and that's what we are gonna learn. How does that work? So the first thing, but before learning, it's just a big word. Trust me, it's nothing else. So, but before understanding Thunk, you need to understand what's a middleware is, right? Now, the middleware that you used in Express, you're going to use the same middlewares here. The exact same job. What is the use of Express middlewares, right? You have used the Express middleware. If you remember, we write something like middleware like this. So function, request, response, next, and every single any access that I want. I want to change request, I can do that. I want to block a request, I can do that. I want to add some data on a request, I can do that. I want to change the way of response was sending, I can do that. Every single thing that you want to change, you can do that. It just sits in between your request and response, and it can do whatever it want to do. And that is exactly the same goal of Redux middlewares is. Entry guard, yes, something like that, but not just for security purpose. Remember that it's not only for security. Think about React, this middleware, so Express middleware. So if I have console dot, do you know what this console dot time does? Do you know? No, you can calculate some time bit taken for something like with this. If you don't know, you should know about it. Like this is very, very nice stuff. So you have some function add a, b, and you want to see return a plus b. Like you want to see how much time this add took. Just an example. You can write it like this. So console dot, not log, it's time, and you give it a label, even any label, started, anything, even is usually it's like one keyword or something. Then you call your function of which you want to measure the time, and then you write console dot time end. Which time end? Even. So what this will do is it will call the add function. It will tell how much time it took. It took 0.02 milliseconds, like that, right? So you should know about this. Now this is not just the point that I'm telling you why is this is not just about security. You could want to anything. The use cases are literally infinite. You may want to do anything, and you can as long as you want to change the way that normal things are working, middleware is the thing that you need, right? So think of express example. You want to calculate the same way, that how much time a request took. You can write like this. So console dot time, let's say a, give it any label, call next, and then call console dot time end, the same label a. This will tell you how much time a request took, right? This is not security related. I'm just calculating a time taken by something. Let's say you want to store some data on it. So you can say request dot local dot age is equal to 10. You can add some data on top of that. And then in the router, right, inside your app.get or whatever, slash, here, you'll get the request dot local dot age, like that. Local as in just local variable. I'm just storing, instead of request, I'm just storing it on something like this. You'll get the access to that here, right? You can just pass some data like this, attaching some data to request. You'll have the same object request dot local available here, like that. So there are many use cases of that. The use case only depends on what do you want and do you actually need that. One of the common use cases async middlewares, like I said in the pre-class, and which is what we are going to learn today first. But before that, let's understand like how common middleware works, like just in normal sense. So what we have so far is this, our normal yesterday's application, the same application. Okay, and it's working fine. This will work, but yeah, learn middlewares. I'll just show you the example. So it is working. Now, what we want to do is I want to, let's say console.logs, the same thing. I want to see how much time one action took, right? So for that, I can create a middleware, because remember, what does middleware do? It sits in between. I'll show you this in diagram. It will be much clearer there, because there is some behavior that is attached to that. So you have your 2 copy paste, 3 paste, 4, and I'm going to call this one store, and I'm going to call this one dispatch. Okay, and this is like middlewares. Both of these are different middlewares. Okay, so what happens when you dispatch an action? Usually it directly reaches to the store and it comes back. Now what I want to do is I want to write a middleware. It's in the name. It sits in between your dispatch when it was sent and before reaching to the store. There is no request response here. Remember that. It is from here till here. When you click on a button and before reaching to the store or reducer technically, right? So I'll be writing the middleware myself. The signature differs like this. The const, it's not exactly a function that accepts 3 arguments. Middleware, you can call it proper name, logger, middleware or something, is a function that returns a function that returns a function. How many of you did not understood this syntax? Everyone understood this? 2, 3. Never seen before. Okay, cool. So it's just, this is exactly same as is equal to function that returns, I'll just write like this, no need of comment, return a function that returns another function. This is same as whatever I have written above, shortcut. Currying, yes. These are closures, yes. The second function is closed under first, third function is closed under second, like that. A function that is returning this function. And what does that function does? It returns another function. Same as this, a function that returns another function that returns another function. This is just a shortcut. Nested, yes. These are closures, yes, but it is known as currying. Okay, and the first argument, the first function receives the entire access to the store itself. What is store? Currying, yes, yes, it is called as currying. Inner function calling outer function. No, outer function calling inner, it's opposite. Inner function doesn't call anything. We just create the things and we just give it to the logger and it will call the functions for you. The outer is going to call inner. Unless you meant something else. Okay, so both are exactly same. The first one receives store. Next one, the second one receives the next function. What is it next? What does next do in Express? Remember that. Next line. Guard. Next step, yes. It's not next middleware. It could be anything. What if there is no next middleware? Correct. Whatever it is next, if it is another middleware, you will call that middleware. If there is no middleware, then it goes to the route. Same thing here. Whenever you are going to call next here, if there is another middleware onto the stack, it will call that middleware like this. If you call next from here, there is nothing after this. So you're going to call store now. So whatever it is onto the stack, you're going to call this function, that will get called. Doesn't matter where you are at, right? And the last one is the action itself. What was the action that was dispatched? Okay, so now this is exactly same as this. Feel free to write whichever structure you want. I prefer the above one, not only because of the practice and you should learn new things, but also because of the shorter syntax, right? So you can still write like this. It's actually hard to read if you think about it than this. This is much easier to read as well. I don't like this. I'm not going to use this. You are totally free to use this. No problem in that. Okay. So it is ES6, yes. So what we can do here, the same thing that you can do anything with Express middlewares, whatever you want to do, right? So let's calculate the time. It's a logger middleware. I can just say console.log middleware called, and I can print action here, right? Or I can even print store.getState console. Remember, you have access to each and every one of them, just like request response. Store.getState. Remember, it's a store, so you can dispatch as well, or you can just get state as well, whatever you prefer. Okay, so you have access to that. If this middleware is ready, what we have to do is we just have to give this to the create store. Now middleware is something called as an enhancer. Okay, the second argument that create store takes is an enhancer, store enhancer. Enhancer is nothing but something that can add more functionality to it. Store enhancer, enhance the functionality of my store. So Redux DevTools is an enhancer. It attaches itself on the window object. That is the reason it knows what is what you are dispatching onto the store, and that is the reason it can dispatch something on its own out from outside, right? How does I'm dispatching an action from here. There is a dispatch button, and I can dispatch something add count from here. How does that exactly go inside my Redux and it gets applied here? The reason for that is this DevTools is attached as a store enhancer to this KS store. So it can change the entire way that this store is working. Okay, so this is what we want for middlewares as well. But remember, the second argument is an answer, and it doesn't take anything like combine enhancer or combine middlewares, nothing like that, right? You have to give second argument as an enhancer. So I'll comment this DevTools for the moment. I'll tell you how to make this work later. And there is the function called as apply middleware. It feels like whoever, I mean, I'm not, I cannot be the only one, but it feels like whoever created this, all the APIs, they did not think this thoroughly, right? Suddenly it's apply middleware here that can take any number of middlewares. This one can take any number of middlewares, but this one cannot take any number of reducers. For this, you have to use this combine reducers. There is no combine middleware, but there is compose for, you'll see this one more, the trick here. You can combine these two. So whoever created this was not thinking thoroughly. But so you have middlewares, you can give any number of middlewares here. The way that it will work is first this, then this, and then this. Okay, if you change the order, it will change the order. Okay, I'll show you the example with two loggers, but if I just have one, I'm going to give it to the supply middleware, logger middleware. It will receive that middleware. You see DevTools have stopped working now. In initial state, I can see here, I think I'll just comment it out from store, this initial state. I just need to see the loggers logging. Okay, so middleware called with this action. Type is equal to add count. Payload is an object where title learn middleware status false and ID 1. Okay, so add to do is not exactly add to do here. Add to do is like get to do's technically. Remember, whenever we land on the page, we make the request to get to do's. So I'm getting this data, I'm trying to populate it. But why is that not working? Why am I not seeing the data? Because Redux has stopped working. And the reason for that is, right, I'm trying to call the count, but it's not, it's dispatching add count with payload 1, but count is not incremented. Correct. Because I'm not calling store. Whatever is there in the stack, I'm not calling that. Just like Express, you have to call that. The difference here is correct. Good. You have to give the action as well, right? Because what if you are checking something like this? What happened? Weird. You're checking something like this. If action.type is equal to add count, and you are modifying the payload on it, action.payload is equal to 2. Right? How will the next middleware will know that next, whatever next onto the stack, how will it will know that actions payload has been changed? Something like that. It's not, it doesn't make sense. This line doesn't make sense, but what if, right? If the action is changing or its type is changing, earlier it's, maybe you're dispatching 2 actions now, we don't know. So that is the reason next middleware should know about what is the current action that you are trying to dispatch. And that is the reason you pass down action to the next function. We don't do that in Express because Express does not have any concept of actions or anything. It just passes the request and response to the next middleware as it is, right? We don't want that. So we pass down the action with the next call. And what this will do is whatever it's onto the next, it will call that. Do we have any other middleware? No. So it's going to call the store. It's going to call the reducer. And now my application is working. I can get to do's, I can dispatch the actions, and everything is working fine. And I can log as well. And I can calculate how much time it was, some action took, like the same way that I showed you in the previous example, console.time, let's say T1, whatever, console.time end T2. Sorry, T1. Remember, time starts here and ends here, so label has to be same. Right, so first action took 4 milliseconds. add count. It took 0.20 milliseconds. And I'm going to add learn apply middleware add this one to 1 millisecond and so on. Doesn't make sense still, but I'm just showing you, I'm just trying to show you one use case of that, right? So you can do that. This is logging. You're checking what is the action getting dispatched. Is there any change you want to do and all, and it works. How the action and store is accessible in that function. So logger, you're creating this middleware, which is function returning, and you're giving it to the, you're not calling it. Remember that. You're just giving a reference to apply middleware. Apply middleware will call all these things for you. And whenever it's going to call, it will pass things down. It will give you the store, it will give you the next function, it will give you the action and so on. Okay. Explain enhancer one more time. Enhancer is nothing but that can change the way that store works. Apply middleware is an enhancer. So think of something that is, you know, one step above middlewares. It can change, it enhances the store, like it adds more functionality on the store. Like a plugin, you have VS Code plugins, right? By default, VS Code doesn't support, let's say, ESLint. You add more functionality to VS Code to check code errors, linting errors by adding this extension. Think of it as an extension. You're trying to add an extension here. You're trying to change the way that store works. Middlewares are not enhancers, no, but you give middlewares to something that can create the enhancer. Apply middleware gives you the enhancer. This is an enhancer, store enhancer. Okay, middlewares are not enhancer. Middleware together becomes one enhancer, like that. You give all of them together to the apply middleware, and that returns an enhancer for you. Okay, think of it as a plugin. Think of it as an extension. Middleware executed before reducer, yes. Okay, so try it out. See if you can make this work. What is Docker? You did not see the video. I'll send you later. You're gonna need it later when you actually get a job. But yeah, try this. It's not related to Redux, but so don't worry. It's not even related to React. Apply middleware is not defined. You have to import it. Redux. Next means middleware work is completed. Next means next middleware. This does not represent that the work is completed. This only represents that at this point of time, I want to call whatever is next onto the stack. Then you can come back here next. Once next call is finished, you come back here for console.time end, right? So next just means go to the next at this point. Like that. Okay. What is that ESLint do? It tells you simple errors, something like if you miss, if you're using some property that doesn't exist on a, like simplest linting errors, we call them. It helps you like keeping the code tidy and all clean. Overall, you should always use that. Yeah, at the end of the lecture, I'll tell you some tips and tricks. Don't worry. That for advanced React and all. Okay, try it. Then we'll create one more middleware and I'll show you how the done. Okay. I'll wait 1-2 more minutes. Next action is calling the next middleware, which is apply middleware. If no, next middleware is there in if any other middleware. We'll create that. Don't worry. We'll create hacks for interview. The best hack for interview is practicing everything more. What is Redux toolkit? So Redux has been Redux is went through lots of changes, and through since past many years. Like Redux, the Redux that you are learning is like third revision or something. They simplified it so many number of times. The Redux toolkit is the next level. They even simplified it even more, but it's very recent, so we don't learn it because no one using it at the moment. But it's even more simplified Redux. It's Redux only, but the library is different. There is no action, there is no dispatch, nothing else. It's very simplified. You can try it out. You know, try it out yourself. You'll get the idea. What is Thunk? We'll reach there. Store is declared, but we didn't use anywhere in the middleware. No, we didn't use, correct. That's fine. And or if you don't need it, you remove it. But I wouldn't recommend that. Keep it, so that you'll always remember the. Even I get confused with the order sometimes. I know store is first always, but I get confused between these two. Either action is first or next is first. So it's always a good idea to type it out multiple times. Yes, correct. Here the action will point to logger middleware. Action. No, action was whatever the action that was dispatched from dispatch before reaching to store. Your logger middleware is here. So you dispatch add count. You'll see add count here, right? So if I dispatch, I'm printing. I'm not printing. Is it variadic? Can I pass multiple? No, I cannot. I'll just console.log dispatching action. Okay, so if I add count, dispatching type add count payload 1. People not making library in India like this. Indian devs have definitely good libraries, but they are just not well popular. Most of the libraries you'll be using is outside mostly. Indian devs do have, but there are many good libraries that are created by India. After placing in a company, what we need to work on Angular, it is similar to React. It is somewhat similar to React. It has VDOM and all, the component as well, but it changes the way that you will be writing code. It's a framework. React is technically not a framework. Remember that. Correct. Masai started a few years ago. Of course, you can create that now. Okay, so working, you can create the library yourself. If others are not creating, you create it. What's use of time? I'm just checking like how much time a middleware took. This one, no? So between this and this, if you write anything, the console.time end will give you how much time this took. So I'm just it's just console.log, nothing else. But with automatically calculating between this call and this call. Okay, so I'm going to create another middleware. I'm going to call this one logger middleware 1 and this one is logger middleware 2, and change the labels of these one as well. and I don't need this. I'll remove the action log and all. So we have these two. This one is T1, how much time it took, and logger middleware 2. Both are doing same. Okay, but the reason that I'm doing is just to show you like how multiple middlewares work. Now I have two of them. Both are just logging, nothing else at the moment. Feel free to change it to whatever you want. You want to add something on the action, add it, and then check it if you are receiving that in the reducer.js. That's fine. So we have two middlewares, and I'm giving both of them to this one and this one, right? Apply middleware. So first is this, second is this, and let's see what is the output now. If I refresh the page, T2 gets called first. Why is that? And T1 is next. Shouldn't this logger be called first? Logger 1 is what I'm giving first, but I'm seeing this first. I'll simplify it for you. Instead of this, what I'm going to write is I'm going to write console.log entering middleware 1, and I'm here, I'm going to log exiting middleware 1. Okay, and same goes for this. Instead of calculating time, let's just log things. Let's just simplify the process. Entering middleware 2 and exiting middleware 2. Okay, now see what is the output. Entering middleware 1, but then after that entering middleware 2. Correct, because of the next. And then I exit the middleware 2 first. Last in, first out. Are they? And then I exit the middleware 1. Correct, exactly. Right, so what is happening here? You created the logger middleware 1. Okay, and you created the logger middleware 2. Whenever you're going to dispatch something, the first line you'll see is this. That makes sense because from dispatch, you enter the logger middleware 1. Right, so you saw this line, but what happened after that? After that, you're just printing. You're not printing. You're calling the next middleware at this point. Go to the next middleware at this point. Remember, you are going to middleware 2. Okay, if you are not concentrating, concentrate here right now. So you're calling the middleware first. That is happening. That's fine. So middleware 1 gets executed first because dispatch goes to 1 first. Right. So entering middleware 1 gets implemented first. Then what happened is at this point, you immediately called middleware 2. Right. So this is where this function is getting called. This at this point. So middleware 1's execution is still not finished yet. We are in middleware 1. We are at this point now. And this jumps here. So I get C entering middleware 2. Then I see entering middleware 2. Right. So from here, I entered middleware 2. Call stack? Yes, it is a call stack. And then it goes to the queue, not just stack. And then after that, I call next. From logger middleware 2, I call next. This one, there is nothing onto the stack. This next call will go to the store, to our reducer and all. It will do these changes on the store. There is no middleware on the stack because, so this next call there is no middleware to call. So it will go to the store. Store will do the changes, reducer will get called, and whatever, which do all the things in the store stays same like that. What happens after that? You return here. Store returns you here because remember, logger middleware is also not finished execution yet. Now, because it's a stack, right? And then you exit the middleware 2. From store, you exit the middleware 2, right? And that's why you see exiting middleware 2 after that. And then this execution is done. You go back to where you left in the middleware 1, and then you see exiting middleware 1. And this is exactly like Express as well, but I'm just wanted to clarify the process. This is how it works. You go through this and you come out of that. It's a stack. If not call middleware to inside apply middleware, then what will happen? Middleware will call middleware 2. No, if you don't call middleware 2 here, it will just not work. It will never reach to the store. If you just don't write call to the next middleware, next call will never reach to the store, right? Inside apply middleware 2 here as well, same thing. anywhere if you don't call next, it will just not reach to the whatever it's there onto the stack. It could be another middleware. If there is no other middleware, it will be store. This one takes you to whatever it is, whichever function it is. If middleware is there, like logger middleware 3 or something, this will call this, but there is nothing at the moment. So this is gonna go here, reducer. So you have to call next. If you don't call it, the call will never reach to the store, right? You can try it out, just comment it out, see if it is working, right? It's not working. Counter to do nothing is working. You have to take the call till store. Now it's working. Okay, any doubts? In what type of situation we need multiple middlewares? Whenever you want multiple things to happen. This one could be logging, this one could be checking security, and the third one could be asynchronous middleware, making the network requests and all. Whenever you have multiple features to change in a store. Okay, this one is clear. You don't have to try it, but if you want to try it, you can try it. I'll give you some time. Okay, any doubts again? You got the idea how the flow works? First this, then 2, which is this, then 3, which is store, then this, go back here, and then this, and go back. It can be used to authenticating user. Rarely, you don't use this for that. Authentication happens. You can store the authentication details. Yes, yesterday's assignment, I guess. You can store the authenticated user, like is auth or something here on a Redux store, but you cannot like redirect user from here, because remember, this is plain JavaScript. It has nothing to do with React. In next, we need to pass the action like functions. Yes, like this. From now, we'll use middleware for network requests. From not now, like from next topic. But yeah, we'll be using middleware for network requests when we learn Thunk. Today, can you give the zip? Yes, I'll give the zip at the end. But try it. Come on. If I'm gonna give the zip, don't just say. Try it. Just in case you face any error, I'll be able to help you out. For reference, yeah, I'll give you. Okay, you wanna try this one? Make 2 middlewares. Understand the flow. I'll wait 2 minutes. We'll add backend into front end. You have PSC for that tomorrow. My throat. You eyes will take the PSC for that tomorrow. You'll learn like how to actually connect the entire full stack application with backend, with Node.js, Express Server, with React front end and all. Done working, cool. So we don't need this. Remember, of course, both are doing the same job, so you don't have to do that. 2 middlewares for that. And also remember, order matters. If you're gonna bring logger middleware 2 first, then it will get executed first. This one will get executed second. Okay, so remember that. We can keep just one middleware and it's still working fine. Add and all. This issue, I think many students face, that when you press save, it saves the empty to-dos, right? I'm sure many of you face this issue. The reason for that is search.db.json. Yeah, this like this. The reason for that is the hot module reloadings. Whenever you save the page, it refreshes, but it only refreshes the part that was changed alongside with its dependencies. Okay, so it's okay. It will happen with this one. There are ways to tackle this. Sorry, with you just clean it up for now, because it will only happen on the dev mode. Don't worry. You can put condition as well. Yes, before dispatching. I think we have done that yesterday, na? Here. No, it for post add to do text. Yeah, you can put condition here. If not text, return. This might save you. Okay. So it's okay. It's happening because of hot module. Anyway, this is a safer coding, right? You should do that anyway. If there is no text to store, you should not store anything. So you should use this. In use effect, it will help. Yes, that is also fine. There are many ways to achieve this. That is whichever you pick. Okay, now what I'm gonna do is, now this change is very important now. So watch this. What I'm gonna do is, the way that I was making request is this. I have the, let's say where I'm making request, get to dos. Now wherever I want to get the to dos, I'll have to call this function, right? What if I can make it as a reusable function that I can dispatch? I don't think that makes sense for anyone. What if I can make Redux make the network call for me? What I'm doing right now is I'm making the get call from React. It is happening, and whenever the data is ready, I am setting that data onto my store, right? What if, so this will get executed only when the data is available. This is not helpful when you have actually multiple loading error data states, right? So if you want to show loading, you'll have to do something like dispatch loading. This will be an action, remember that. I'm writing like this just for reference. This will be type is equal to set loading or something like that. And once the data is there, you dispatch dispatch error like that. So this will be type is equal to loading. This will be type is equal to error and so on, right? So the proper way of handling any request is always like this. You set everything to loading before making the request, and then you handle the states in here in your reducer, right? This is the data. Loading is equal to false and error is equal to false. Okay, we are not going to do that at the moment, but what the change that we are going to do is will be related to this. Okay, this change, if you write like this, if before making the request, you want to set the entire thing to loading, to show loading spinner or something like that here before showing the data to list or all, you'll have to write it like this, right? So now your application goes into loading state. It re-renders the component. You check here first, is it loading? Then show spinner. This will be your spinner component. I'm just writing text, but something that is like loading or something like that, right? If it is not loading, else if there is an error, then you show error component. If there is no error, then you show the data component, right? This is how you usually handle the things, right? We cannot assume that every time there will be success. So what will happen if you dispatch loading before making get to do request? This one will go to the store. It will set the loading to true. It will re-render the component. You have to take loading error and data all out here. They are on this store now. Remember that. So and it will set loading to true, and below it will re-render the component. It will set loading to it will show the spinner to you. Now after that, at some point of time, axios.get will finish. Depending on, let's say if there is a success, there was a success, I get the data and I just store it on my component, right? Because of that, to do was changed. That means component again re-renders. This entire component re-renders. Now you have the to dos. Loading is set to false in that case. Whenever the data is there, you'll write the logic like that. set loading to true, in some case set loading to false. You have to manage that. Now to-dos is there, loading is false. You go down and check here, like when the component is re-rendering, you're gonna set it to loading to false. To-dos is true, so you'll be showing this. And because the action was dispatched, this you have the data. We assume that you have the data. Or if there is an error, you set the error to true, component gets re-rendered, and here you show the error, right? Maybe I'll keep it here just for the reference. You'll have to, this is conditional rendering, spinner component or error component, else normal data, right? So this is just a matter of making the network request, because network requests can go through multiple phases. Before it will be loading, after that it will be error or data, depending on what this was success or not. So what I want to do is, I don't want to dispatch all these things myself one at a time. I want to dispatch only one function, which is a function, and it needs to be a function because that thing is going to make the call for me. Okay, I'll show you this. I'm going to create an action for that. To-dos action. I will create export const get to-dos is an action. Okay, and here I want to make the all these things. Getting me? Now action is, what we usually type in an action is type and payload. What I'm going to type now is a function, dispatch, then catch. Okay, the objective is clear. Any doubt in this? This is important, so let me know. Just 1 minute, I'll be back. Hey, sorry, I got a call, important, so I had to pick it up. I'm back. Let's repeat it one more time. Sure. So let's simplify the things. What I want to do is, okay, forget everything that you learned. Let's simplify everything. What I want to do, I want to, instead of dispatching action as a generic type is equal to add to do, payload is equal to something, I want to dispatch a function. This is not a function. This is get to do's. Add to do's is a function that returns an object. Get to do's is a function that returns a function. Don't forget the syntax. This is what I want to do. Why do I want to do that? So that in future I am able to do this. Whenever I want to get the to-dos, I will be able to dispatch this get to-dos, get data, I'm going to call it. Okay, from action, I will be able to dispatch like this. And get data, I want to call here and here. It's not a middleware, no. It's an action. Remember, where are we writing it? In an actions.js. Okay, so that's what we want to do. Need a break? Okay, let's take a break. Maybe after break it will be clear. Let's take 5 minutes break. I'll repeat it one more time after break. Don't worry. Let's take a break, 5 minutes. Meet me back in 5 minutes. I'll be here. Will this work now? No, no, no. It will nowhere close to even working. We have lots of things to write. Don't worry, I'll repeat it one more time. back. Okay. I'll wait 1 more minute. Okay. So let's. I hope everyone is back by now. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna revert back. Okay, to everything to this. I know what the reason why you're not getting this, because every theory is going in just one go, like lots of theory. Okay. What we are going to do is we are going to actually create this loading type states and error states and data states and all. And we are going to actually manage the loading errors data here. Okay, so I'm back to the previous state, except I think previously I did not have this. Okay, everything back to normal, like the way that it was before starting the lecture. Okay. Action.js does not provide get to dos. Okay, because this one is not there. Okay, so everything is back the way that it was. Now let's start from scratch. Basic. What we want to do, we'll see that later. But before understanding that change, we first need to implement this loading error data states. What happens when the component is loading? What happens when there is an error? What if server is down? We want to implement that. So I'm gonna create that part. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to my Redux / to do reducer initial state. I'm gonna add these things there on initial state. Okay. I will also rename this thing because add to do is vague name. I'm gonna call it get to dos everywhere. This is getting the to dos. Remember that. Okay. So second change I did is this. Okay. Everywhere this will be get to dos. I'm dispatching get to dos with payload, whatever the to dos that I receive, all the to dos from server. I'm just inside reducer. I receive all those, and this becomes get to do, and all these to dos I'm just setting it on my local storage. Okay, so I added this and I'm rename add to get to dos. Hope no doubt so far it still works. Whenever I land on the page, I dispatch in Redux DevTools, it stopped working. Okay, I'll tell you at the end how to make that work. But yeah, it is working because like you can see the right get to dos is working because you can see the to dos here, right? Or I can enable that as well. I don't see any problem with that. I'm just gonna comment middlewares for now, and I'm gonna enable the DevTools. That is also fine. Okay, so get to dos is going, and I get all the to dos back, and I'm just setting it on my entire store. So entire store is now like this. It has count to dos. This is combined reducer count as count on it, and this one has all the to dos on it and loading errors and data states. And data has two different datas on it, right? This is how the data keeps on increasing. That's why the tree structure, chart structure, multiple types of structures are there, right? What I want to do now is I want to support loading error and data. We have added this. Now I'm gonna support the different types of actions, not just this, because this is just setting the data itself. This is the data, right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create two more actions. Export const get to do loading is equal to same. Okay, just to show that at this point of time my application is loading, nothing else. And if there is an error at this point of time, there is an error. So I created three different states. This one is for data, this one is for loading, and this one is for success. Oh, sorry, error. And if I, for every action creator, remember we need action type, we need action creator. So I'm going to create that as well. Const add to do loading. It may not receive loading, may or may not payload. We will see what to dispatch if it receives some payload. But type, we know for sure that at this point of time, I need to dispatch get to do loading. Right? That's for sure. Payload ka we'll see later. That don't worry about that at the moment. Error. This needs to be error. Any doubts till now? I'm just dispatching with three more support for three more states. No? Cool. Implement this. Let's go step by step. We have to do this only when we make network request. Yes, correct. It is only for network request because there is no loading error for any like local sorting or filtering, right? So this is only for when something can actually go wrong. This is for network request. It is a middleware, yes. Okay, so we'll create that. We haven't created it yet. We'll create that. Okay, let me know when this is done. Okay, let me know when it is done. Am I still audible? I just changed my mic and display. Is everything fine still now? Audible? Okay, cool. More clear? Really? Okay, cool, cool. I just switched the desktop and mic both. Okay, I'll wait. Done? Okay, cool. I'll wait 1 more minute, but I think it should be done by now. So yeah, let's move on. So we have created loading error states. We are supporting this now. We are just not utilizing, right? So what for others was breaking? Okay, cool. I think it's network. My 1 minute. It should be fine by now. Is this any better? Is this still lagging? No. Good to go. Okay, cool. I changed the place again. Okay, so what we are gonna do now is we are actually gonna use the states that we have created. Okay, in this React left hand side, the JSX component. Okay, this one screen is really hard to use. We are taking the things out. Remember that. By default, the reducer.js loading is by default false. Error is by default false. And in case of get to do, we are not changing anything into loading and get error state. But when we are going to change them, we're going to change them whenever the proper action was dispatched. If I'm dispatching add to do loading, that is the place where I'll be actually setting the loading to true in the reducer. Okay, we haven't written that, but we'll write it soon. I'm going to keep this open. Voice is low. Okay, there is some work going on in my house, so I just switched my place. I'll try speaking louder, I guess. It is okay. Okay, just bear with me for next 5-10 minutes. We're about to finish. Don't worry. It's fine. Okay, cool. So okay, you can also console.log this. You can check what is the values of at what point of time, like loading an error. If I print this, you should see false, like everything is false. So that means I can see them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use them, right? Same thing. If loading is true, then show something. Loading. This will be your actual loading component. Remember that. This is conditional rendering. If error is true, else loading is not true. That means either there is an error or there is actual data, right? So I'm going to show in that case, error occurred. Okay, I can emulate this one as well, but both are false. So by default, I'll see everything. I'll see the to-do list. Okay, and when I'm gonna dispatch the loading, I will dispatch loading whenever I actually want to get the to-dos, get the data. Right before this network request, I should dispatch the action to loading, so that I see the loading spinner here, like that. Right. So what I'm gonna do is I have dispatch already. Add to do loading. I'm going to dispatch that. This will dispatch loading. But what happens when I'm dispatching loading? I haven't said that at the moment. I'm going to write that. So case, sorry, it's get to do loading. Why have I called it add to do loading? Action. I should have this one. This is get to do loading. This means this is also get to do. And this one is get to do loading. This is for getting the data. So on the right hand side we changed, here we changed, but here we did not change. So only that changed, get to do error. Okay, we are just getting the data, remember that. So don't let the function name confuse you. This one is gonna fail. No, this one is gonna fail because there is no add to do anymore. There is get to do's and get to do error and get to do loading. That's why I have renamed this to get data. And this becomes get to do. This becomes get to do loading. Okay. So before making the network request, I'm setting everything to loading state. What this will do, it's not doing at the moment. So let's write that get to do loading. Case get to do loading. We want to return store, entire store without changing anything, but only we want to set loading to true now, right? Remember, there is no error at this point. So we are just setting loading to true. And we don't have to do's access as well. So we are just changing this state. What this will do is it will set the loading to true, right? So if I refresh, there you go. You are seeing only loading. You got what is happening? Getting the idea now? Any doubts now? Correct. We set it to true. We didn't set it to false. That is why you are continuously seeing that. Flow once again. Yes, sure. So what first we did is we first created loading error data states. We created action creators for that. Okay. For every action you need some state onto the reducer. So we are adding that. Okay. Where is the doubt? Line 13 makes false again. I think then it will work. Line 13. No. Get to do. Correct. Yes. Yes. No, I'm just trying to explain the flow for now. Loading to false. We have to set loading to false. That is correct. Right. So before that, I'm trying to explain the flow here. First, we dispatch before making the request. We dispatch get to do loading. Right. And what does this do? It dispatches get to do loading action, which is type is equal to get to do loading. It goes here, switches to here. At this point, we don't do anything. We just set it to true. Right. And the only thing that you want to change is whenever you have the data, that is correct. Yes. If you have guessed already, set loading to false. When you have the data, and when you will have the data, when the request is done, it will be in the future. Right? At some point, Axios will finish the request. You will get the data. And after that, automatically you're dispatching get to do with the data that you have. What this will do is it will dispatch get to do with the data and type as get to do. What does get to do? Get to do sets everything on payload and set loading to false. If I do that, there you go. There is for a split second, there is loading, or I can emulate it as well for you. So if I go here in the mobile view, throttling set to low end mobile, and if I refresh, you'll see for a long time, you'll see actually loading state, loading. I'm emulating low end mobile now, loading. And when it is done, you're seeing the data. Now it's clear. We just changed the loading false to true. We did all these things just to show this loading part, nothing else. And same goes for error. Now, all you have to do is if there is an error, you need to handle case get to do error. In that case, set loading to false or except set error to true. That is the only thing. So we did all these things only to show this loading part, right? The time between the fetching the data and displaying on the UI is loading time. Yes, correct. But meanwhile, you have to show something. Now, you need to show something to the user. We cannot just show blank, and that's why we are writing all this logic for the user. It's user's purpose. Okay. I'm gonna reset my loading low end mobile to this. And cool. So now implement this. If you have any doubts, still let me know. We'll repeat it if you want. Yesterday, it's not taking this much time to fetch. It's not taking much time. I have emulated low end mobile myself. You can go back to no throttling and it will not take much time. If I refresh, it's instantaneous. You're not seeing loading anymore. It's fast. I was emulating it for that so that you can see the loading text. Okay, implement it. I'll wait. return. It's just either loading. Okay, this. Full. Left tab, scroll up to top, left tab, to do's. Which one do you want exactly? This one? Is this Thunk? No, no, no. Imports. Okay, now remember that this is for just loading and the error states success. We are not managing the error state. So this is loading and success only. You have to manage error as well the same way. Don't forget that. You have to set loading to true when loading is there. When there is an error, set error to error. Whatever you dispatch the error you want to dispatch it, that's fine. Like this. I think we can do that already. So you can do this. There will be error. And you have to dispatch get to do error. And if there is whatever the error you get, you want to give it to store, you can give that. And here on the right hand side, like on the reducer, you will just have to manage it like this. Get to do error. In that case, set error to true. If you want to use the payload, you can set error to that message. And here on the to-dos, you'll set this will re-render the component. Error will be true now, and you will see error occurred. Okay, so we did this all these changes just to understand what Thunk is going to help us is. What is an asynchronous request? Okay, everyone done till now? Do you want you need time, or should we move ahead? Done. Okay. Done. Okay, then let's move on. I'll show you what is this get to do's. This doesn't exist. After add, I want to get data. Okay, so far it is working, right? So let me unmute. You can ask here on chat. If you have any doubt, definitely you can ask here. That's fine. So where was I forgot. Yes. So what is the all these steps? Remember now, to make any network request at any other point of time, let's say you have a doubt. Okay. Go ahead.
Hello, sir. Hello.
Yeah, I can hear you.
सर एक्चुअली कल मैंने असाइनमेंट बनाया था वो वाला पिछला वाला ये रेडक्स का असाइनमेंट उसमें मैंने सर डिस्पैच का जो फंक्शन आप जो ऊपर दिए हुए लाइन नंबर 22 पे डिस्पैच उसको गेट टू डू लाइन नंबर 22 सर तो मैंने सिर्फ यहाँ पे इसको यूज किया था उसके बाद अंदर जो यहाँ डिस्पैच लाइन नंबर 27 में दिए हैं आप डिस्पैच इक्वल टू गेट टू डू डेटा। तो मैं सिर्फ यहाँ पे फंक्शन कॉल किया था गेट टू डू, मतलब गेट डेटा को। तो सर क्या होता है कि जब मैं ऐड कर रहा होता हूँ तो वहां पर क्या होता है, मुझे डबल क्लिक करना पड़ता है फर्स्ट टाइम जब मैं रिफ्रेश करता हूँ तो, और उसके बाद फिर जैसे ही हम कोई डेटा डालते हैं तो वो ऑटोमेटिक एक ही क्लिक पे आ जाता है सर। तो यहाँ पे क्या मतलब लिंक है सर, ये मैं कंफ्यूज हो रहा हूँ कि ऐसा क्यों हो रहा है, यहाँ पे डिस्पैच नहीं यूज करने के कारण वो डबल क्लिक क्यों करना पड़ता है सर?
Double click to nahi, you never have to double click. The thing that is my guess is happening is you are setting some state, you are not giving it as a dependency.
नहीं
In
सर, मैंने ये जो है ना आप जो कोड के एग्जैक्टली मैं ऐसे ही किया था, सिर्फ मैं डिस्पैच यहाँ नहीं यूज किया था लाइन नंबर 27 पे कल।
so where did you use it?
मैंने उसको यहाँ पे नहीं यूज किया था, वहां पे मैं डायरेक्ट फंक्शन को कॉल कर लिया था गेट डेटा को।
No, that will never work. Get data, you mean without
नो
dispatch?
सॉरी, सेट डेटा आई डिड।
You mean like this, na? Instead of
सेट
dispatch,
डेटा,
call it like this.
यस सर, सेट डेटा, नो सर, सेट डेटा आई पुट डेटा इनसाइड दैट।
No, that will not work because the action will never reach to the store, na, if it is not going through dispatch.
ओके
Right? Only dispatch can take the action and give it to the store. Store does not receive action from anywhere else.
ओके सर,
Right?
थैंक
Yeah, this is how you
ठीक
have to make the call.
ठीक।
Okay, cool. All right. So yeah, coming back to the point that this is a synchronous, remember now this is the point. What is this? This is a synchronous request. Until, I hope that sound is not too much loud. Until the request is successful, even though this is an asynchronous, you're dispatching something asynchronously, Redux actions are not getting dispatched asynchronously. What you have to do is, for any number of time, think about whenever you need get data. At that point, you'll have to write all of this logic again and again and again, every single time. For any place where you want to get the data, you'll have to call yourself, dispatch get to do loading yourself, and then you'll have to make the call yourself, and then you'll have to state the dispatch the get to do's again, right? All these lines of code repeatedly. So what we are going to do is we are going to solve this problem with middlewares ourselves. Okay, I'll show you the proper use case of middleware with this example. So what we are going to do for that is, I'm not going to dispatch this entire thing. I'll comment it out. Let me copy it first and then comment it out. Okay, what I want to do is, I want to call a function for me, dispatch, and get, what should we call it? Get to data, like this, something like that. I want to write this one line and it should get all the data for me. That is my goal. Okay, goal clear? This is what I want. This function should do all these things for me. Goal clear, everyone? Any doubts in what we want to achieve? This is what I want to achieve. I want to call one function and that function will do all these things for me. Clear? Okay. Now is the point, like, how do we do that? Making global? No. It will be an action. I want to, why am I giving it to dispatch? This is already a reusable function, right? I want to create an action is the point. So where do we create actions? Let's go that. I create my actions in to-do/actions, and I'm going to create that action for me. What the name I gave to it was, I called is get to do data. So I'm going to create that action, export const get to do's data, and it will do something. What it will do, we'll see that. Okay, I'll keep it on the right hand side maybe if you want. So this should do this. Okay, so I'm going to comment it out and copy it again. I forgot it last time, and I'm going to paste it here. That's what we want. Remember that. But what do we do? Action doesn't return this, or action doesn't do this job as well. What is an action return? This is an action. I'm writing it an action creator. This is an action creator. Technically, it should return type and payload. But what I'm doing, I'm not returning anything. I am making a network request here inside an action. Right? So where will, and I want to do that. The reason for that is I should be able to do this. Remember that always remember the goal. Why are we writing this? I want to be able to do this. I want to be able to make a network request through Redux, because writing these many number of lines every single time is not easy, and it's not even maintainable. Like tomorrow, just in case you want to make some changes to the data structure like this, you'll have to change it in every place. That is not correct, right? So now I'm just taking this from here and making it an action. But if I do this, it will fail. You know why? Because action needs to be type and payload. If it is not type and payload in the reducer.js, this will not be type and payload. You cannot destructure type and payload from this. This is not returning type and payload. Yes, correct. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to return, instead of an object, I'm going to return a function. Okay. And this function will give me access to the dispatch, where this dispatch is coming from as an argument. Now, technically internal is finished. You can also import Axios if you want. Axios from Axios. Technically, this function is finished. This is how I'm going to make it work. What I did is, instead of returning a type payload object, I returned a function. Now, what is your action? Your action is a function now, remember. Action is not type and payload anymore. Okay. And that function is somehow receiving dispatch. And then I'm dispatching get to do loading. Where is get to do loading? Here. Then I'm with Axios making the network request call. I have the dispatch again. When it is done, I'm dispatching get to do data. Or if there is an error, I'm dispatching get to do error here. Okay. I think there is still confusion for a lot of you, but I think it will be clear when I'm going to actually use this. Only part I want you to remember is your action is not type and payload for this get to do data action. So whenever I'm dispatching this, I am not dispatching type and payload. Just one line. Remember that. After that, it will be clear. Don't worry. Where dispatch will be passed, we'll solve that. That is the reason I'm asking you to just remember one line for me. Type and payload is not an action anymore. At this point of time, I'm not dispatching that. What I'm dispatching, this function. So action is a function now. Okay, just this part clear. It's okay if there is other errors like what is this coming from and will this work or not, we'll solve that. Just remember action is a function now. And which function is that? Action is this part. Just concentrate on this part. Trust me, it will be clear in just 5 minutes. Okay, so if I refresh, I get an error, and error will tell me specifically what I'm missing. Get to the data is undefined. Right. This is the error. Just 1 minute until the sound goes off. I think it's fine. So what is the error? Action must be plain objects. Give me 1 minute. paused in between for, I think you don't want to hear drill sound in your recording. So yeah, the error now is, remember the thing that I asked you to remember, that this is your action now. Your action is a function now, and that is exactly what the error is telling us. Actions must be plain objects. Use custom middleware for async actions. This is nothing but asynchronous action. This action I am trying to dispatch as a function. What happens when I dispatch a callback? Callback is nothing but a way of asynchronous programming, right? Whenever you give the callback as an argument to any function, that function is able to execute that callback whenever it is ready, right? Means it will not contain network requests, right? So it will not contain network request. It will have the network request. Yes, it will have, right? This is what our network request will be. The problem is in the store.js here. I'm gonna re-enable this middleware, and let's see in the logger middleware what is the action that I receive at this point. So here I'm just gonna print action and just print the action first. Okay, I don't need this. Okay, and it will show you the action. What is the action? You see this dispatch get to do loading axios.get. Action is this. That's what I told you. Action is this now. It's a function. What you can do now is, and which function is that? The function is this exact same function. What you can do now is simply, if type of action in one line of code is a function, call the action, right? If type of action is a function, you call that action. It's a function. You can call it. What this will do, I think I have to return from here. This will do, yeah, I don't think so. We'll see. What this will do, it's gonna call. Yeah, there is some work going on. That's why I'm silent from last 10-15 minutes. There is a drill and all. It will be over, but it's just 5-10 minutes. But I think you can hear me right now. So this is gonna call a function. Yes, okay, cool. Which function is gonna call? It's gonna call this function for you. And this function is receiving dispatch. So that means I have to pass dispatch from here. Can I pass dispatch from here? I do have dispatch already. It's on store.dispatch. I have store.dispatch function. I'm passing it to the action. Action is this function. It's receiving dispatch and it's dispatching the actions whenever it has, access. Yeah, I think we have to return from here. We'll see. Right? Otherwise, once this is done, it will go here. I think we have to return, right? So now I'm gonna remove the console.log. Now I'm making the network request through middlewares, right? It's a middleware that is asynchronous, but you see what is happening. I'm dispatching an action that is asynchronous. This could also be like this as well. Remember that. Just because I'm writing .then.catch does not mean you have to write it that way. You can write it like this, and you can await on that. Const data is equal to await axios.this. That is also fine. There is no problem with that. Like this. Try catch, yeah, with try catch. This is an asynchronous middleware now. You're dispatching this function now. Right? This is how you make the network request with Redux properly. Now, any point of time in your entire application, you want to make get to do request, you'll not be writing all these lines of code. This entire lines of code is useless now. At any point of time, you want to get to do's, you dispatch this action. It will get the to do's for you. This is nothing but an asynchronous action, right? Your application is still working. Okay, so this, you have nothing but created a thunk yourself. What is thunk? This part, asynchronous action, something that's going to get executed in the future, past tense of think. Like I said, it's a joke, but still, if you go to Redux thunk, it is deprecated now because of the because of the Redux toolkit and all. But if you go to source index.ts, it's TypeScript, but still it looks big, but the actual line of code is here. Read it carefully. Middleware is something something. It receives destructured state. This is just this part in store.js store. They are just destructuring dispatch and get state from it. It returns next function. We are returning next function. It returns action. We are returning action. And what is happening inside it? If type of action is function, call that action. If type of action is function, call that action. These 3 lines of code is basically entire thunk. Thunk means something that is going to happen, right? And if the 3 lines of code, everything else is just comment and types. Don't worry about it. 3 lines of code has 17,000 stars. Why is that so important? It is important because you can dispatch asynchronous actions now. The action that is not type and payload, you don't wait on it. Redux will call it for you, right? So the exact same, these 3 lines of code are thunk. These 3, technically just 1 line, but still, like if type of action is a function, you call that function. And after that, you are able to write this. If deprecated, that means thunk is not used. Thunk is used, but not this library. The library is not under maintenance because thunk is by default comes with the newer Redux versions. Library is not used anymore. You can still use it in older ways. So you have to install it. I'll show you how to use that. npm install Redux thunk. Right there, the Redux will be given manual setup. Under manual setup, these steps will be given to you. npm install Redux thunk, or mine was pnpm install Redux thunk. It's going to install thunk for me. In the store.js, import default thunk from Redux thunk. It's a default import. And after that, instead of logger middleware, I'm gonna give thunk. That's the only change. You install thunk, import thunk, give it to apply middle, and it still works. Everything still works, right? Instead of just import, what we did here was, instead of importing thunk, to understand what a thunk is, we implemented it ourselves. Thunk is nothing but an action that is a function, an action that is not type and payload. We can get any data anywhere if we use Redux to make network calling. Yes, correct. After this, even in counter, you want to get to-dos here, all you have to do is, you'll have to, so many files, you'll have to just dispatch this 1 line. Dispatch the action that is the function. This one returns the promise and all. So as soon as you do this, you are able to write this line of code. So you made your code more maintainable, you made your code more manageable, right? You get the to-dos, loading error, everything is handled by this 1 line inside it. Everything is, this part is handling inside it. Loading, error, I'm not handling, but of course you'll have to put this in try catch, right? Error, data, success, everything is getting handled by this line of code. And this is how you'll be making the network request with Redux. Instead of writing like this is not correct. Actually, nothing wrong with that, but it's not like, remember, next time you want to make a request to this, you'll have to write each and every one of this in that component. You don't do that. With Redux, this is the best way. Okay, clear? What is a thunk? Any doubts? This line or this line, this is the thunk. Try it out. I'll wait. If you are facing any issues, let me know. Shall we do post and delete also like this? Yes, yes, everything like this now. Lots of content to remember. Yes, correct. There will be until like this is your first time, so you may feel overwhelmed, like I'm not understanding and all. But if you are not, just remember to import Thunk, give it as this, apply middleware. After that, you'll be able to do this. Thunk is mandatory. It's good to have. Technically, it's not mandatory. Think about it. You can still dispatch each and every loading success, error, and Axios request here. That is fine. But what is better, this one line or all these multiple lines that we had earlier? It's not mandatory. It's not gonna like speed up your application, nothing. It's just part of structuring. That's it. Structure change. That's it. All requests inside action. Yes. Need to do it in evaluation like this. If you can't, it's okay. If you do, there is not score for that, but remember, this is the correct way. Okay, just like we don't use var anymore. Even if you use, tell me, nothing is going to go wrong, right? It's just not the correct way of using it. So if you use it like this in evaluation, it's just like you'll be just remembering it. This is the correct way. This is the best way to use it. Even if you don't, nothing is going to go wrong. Thunk is calling when action is a function. Yes, Thunk is whenever action is a function, it will call that action for you, which is this. Okay, let's go through flow one more time, but this time I'm not gonna explain any other things that are like this that is not required for you. Okay, I'll just tell you what is the Thunk and why is it used for. Thunk is used when you want to dispatch multiple actions asynchronously, like this. You don't want to handle all these dispatches yourself for each and every time you need the to-dos data. You don't want that. So what we do is we created an function, we created an action, which is a function. This is your action now. We call get to-dos data. So this executes this function, which returns me this, right? I call get to-dos data. So at this point, I'm giving dispatch this function. So I receive this function, and inside this, I can make network request call or any other the request or a side effect that you want to do. You can do that inside this, and you can keep on dispatching any number of different actions that you want. And this is like a better way to dispatches. Now, how to support this? But to support this, there is no way out of the box, because remember, action needs to be type and payload object. Now action is a function. So this will not work out of the box. To make it work, we installed Redux Thunk, imported Thunk from that, which is a middleware, and we gave it to the apply middleware. In shortest, that is the entire use case of Thunk to make this work. This making a network request through actions. Okay, we installed Thunk and we are using it. Okay, does that make 40-50% clear at least, if not 100 won't be there, but it is acceptable, don't worry. Once you watch the entire recording, especially the last part, if the previous part was confused for you, like what is this happening, ignore that. Then watch the last part again in the recording, because earlier there was lots of noise and all. You just remember this part. This is how you make the network request as an action, and to support this, you use a Thunk. Okay, and if you understood this, then well and good. This is more the better. This is technically not hard. It just like flow, like goes through like multiple phases. That's why. Okay, so yeah, that's the entire middleware and Thunk. Even if it is deprecated, we should use Thunk. It is not deprecated. The library is not under maintenance. Thunk is not deprecated. This Redux Thunk is now moved to Redux Toolkit Thunk. Redux Toolkit, the newer libraries. It has the Thunk itself internally. This one, like this. It has asynchronous thunk and all inbuilt in itself. It is not deprecated. You are still going to use that. Library is not under maintenance because it's 3 lines of code. There is 3 lines of code does not need maintenance. Yeah, you'll be using it like this, correct? In job, in daily work, you'll be using it like this. Okay. Cool. So that concludes the lecture about middlewares and the React as well. Uncomment dev tools. So that part is pending still now. So I'll show you how to make that work. Where is that? Yeah, in the store.js, what we are missing. Thanks for reminding that. We can, for now, we can only use either apply middleware because it's an enhancer, or Redux DevTools because that's an enhancer. I mean, we can only use one enhancer, right? So what we want to do is we want to use something that can combine both of them together and give one enhancer back. Just like there is combine reducer, there is no such thing as combine enhancers, but there is something called as compose. Compose means take multiple function, give one function out. That is not related to reducers or enhancers. It's going to take multiple. It can take any two functions. It will split one function out. And you can use compose here. Compose and pass your both the things to it. Apply middleware and window.devtools extension. Now your store also works, plus your DevTools also work, both together. Okay, so you do this change, the import compose from Redux and compose both of them. Mix up ho gaya. So don't use, just you watch the recording, you'll get the idea, don't worry. It's not hard, it's too many concepts, just nothing else. Redux is organic chemistry. Can you give some other examples for enhancer? Enhancer is whatever that can change the way that store works. It could be anything technically. Eval 4 hint, there is what is hint like? It's gonna be same sorting, filtering, something, but through Redux now. That is the biggest hint you'll need. You just concentrate on Redux. All the other things you know already. That enhances the store. Compose is another enhancer. Enhances the store is just a simple concept that it adds the functionality to store, nothing else. It's not anything magic. It's just something, it's like an extension thing, nothing else. Plugin, yeah, you can call it as a plugin. Need some more practice, need a lot more practice. Some is not enough, trust me. You need a lot more practice. You have to go through it again and again and again and again, many number of times to understand what is going on. Remember, this is like third, this is simplified, the Redux team simplified this for third number of time or something like that. Fourth, if you consider the Redux. Earlier, it used to be so hard that I did not understood Redux for a long time. Like it took me 4 or 5 months to understand Redux. It was that hard, the initial versions. Flux, though, you don't even think about it. The Flux library that Facebook released, it was out of my syllabus as well. Like it was not easy to understand. Redux is very easy, but it's easy to understand, but it's like still complicated. Redux is the Redux toolkit. If you ever get time on weekend or something, not this weekend, once you're done with C4, you have time, like lots of time. Definitely go through Redux toolkit once. Toolkit makes your life even more easier. Okay. From where you learn the things. I learn the things from official docs. Whatever you want to learn,